Okay, we're picking back up where we left off. We're going to talk about nonmetals now. So we're going to talk about the right side of the periodic table. Nonmetals are really different than metals. A lot of nonmetals are gas, but they can also be liquid or solid at room temperature. One of their properties is that they are brittle, which means that they break easily. So if you were to hammer a nonmetal, it would fall apart. Because of this, nonmetals are not as helpful in their solid form. They're also poor conductors of heat and electricity. A lot of the elements in the human body are nonmetals. If you notice down here, hydrogen is also included in nonmetals. So hydrogen is something that's a little weird on the periodic table. It's in group 1, which is, we know, the alkali metals, because it has one valence electron, but it doesn't have any other properties of a metal. It actually has more properties of a nonmetal. So it fits here because of its valence electron, but not because of its properties. Okay, so on your table, go ahead and draw your arrow and write nonmetals at the top. Pause the video. Okay, so there are a couple types of nonmetals that we want to talk about specifically. So the first group is the halogens. On our periodic tables, it's group 17. But some of the older periodic tables used to mark it as A's and B's. And so you'll see the one on the wall in our classroom. It actually labels the halogens as 7A. Halogens have 7 valence electrons, and they are very, very reactive. Because of this, most of them are diatomic. So if you remember from our last chapter, a diatomic element means that there's always 2 of that element together. They always bond with themselves. So fluorine is never just single F, it's always F2. Same with chlorine, bromine, and iodine. They're all really reactive, and so they react with themselves. Okay, let's go ahead and draw that in our periodic table. So it's group 17, not including astatine. So it's going to go just the first 4, and then make sure that you color in your key. Pause the video to do that. The other group of nonmetals that we need to know a special name of is the noble gases. These are group 18 or 8A. They're the last column on the periodic table, and they have 8 valence electrons, which is actually a full shell. The most valence electrons you can have is 8. Because they're already full, they're non-reactive. They don't need any more valence electrons, and so they just kind of hang out by themselves. I always call them the kings and queens of the periodic table. They don't want to interact with the other elements. And all of the noble gases are gases. That makes sense. Okay, go ahead and put that on your periodic table. It's group 18. Then make sure that you mark it in your coloring key. Now, we didn't color in all of the nonmetals or all of the metals. They don't all have special names. We're just looking at a few specific ones. The last group that we need to talk about is the metalloids. And the metalloids are the ones that are kind of on the stair of the table, so right above and right below that stair line. We call them metalloids because they have properties of both metals and nonmetals. So what this looks like is that they're semiconductors. So they conduct heat and electricity under certain situations. They can also be solid, liquid, or gas. These metalloids, because of this semiconductor property, are really good and can be used in computers and kind of chips and things like that. So these are the list of metalloids. So it's boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony, tellurium, polonium, and astatine. And so, like I said, they're above and below. The only exception, aluminum is touching that stair, but it is a full metal. It does not count as a metalloid. So this is our last color. Go ahead and fill it in on your periodic table, and then make sure that you mark it on your coloring key so that you can look back. So you guys, this is an overview of the periodic table. We're going to expect that you know what the metals are and where they're located, and what the nonmetals are and where they're located. You will be able to use your colored periodic table in class and on quizzes. You will not be able to use your colored version on the test. So what that means is that you need to use this periodic table to do some studying, because there could definitely be test questions where we ask, what are the group 1 metals called? Or what are the elements called that are touching the stair? So this is something that you need to practice and do some studying so we can keep it at 100. If you have any questions, obviously feel free to talk to me on this line.